Good afternoon and welcome to Greater Indiana Clean Cities Ethanol webinar. My name is Kaylee May. I'm the Events and Communications Coordinator for Greater Indiana Clean Cities. Thank you for joining us today in collaboration with our partners, the Indiana Corn Marketing Council and Casey's General Store, as we learn how you can benefit from making the switch to ethanol. Before we begin, we have several housekeeping items to mention. This webinar is being recorded and will be sent to you with a link with the recording following today's session. You will be able to submit your questions in the chat box on your screen. After each presenter is finished, we have time set aside for a few questions, but remember all of the attendees will be in listen-only mode, so the chat box question and answer screen is going to be your way to ask those questions. And lastly, we will have a survey at the end of the webinar for you to complete. Please take the 2 minutes to provide feedback so we continue to cover the topics that our stakeholders need. We have 3 speakers for you today. First is Carrie Garvin, the Executive Director for Greater Indiana Clean Cities Coalition, a standalone nonprofit designated by the U.S. Department of Energy to help deploy alternative fuels in vehicles. Next is Elena Jetty, the Biofuels Director at the Indiana Corn Marketing Council. Elena works with a variety of stakeholders from Indiana corn and soybean farmers, ethanol producers, fuel retailers, fuel associations, automakers, and racing communities within the ethanol and biodiesel space in efforts to continue driving market development and innovative pathways forward. And last is Jake Comer, the Fuel Pricing Manager at Casey's General Stores. Casey's offers a variety of fuel blends, including E15, E85, and biodiesel. Casey's serves 16 states, including Indiana. We have a full agenda today, and we'll do our best to stick to our timeline. So after Carrie provides an overview of Greater Indiana Clean Cities, Elena will give an overview of the Indiana Corn Marketing Council and the programs and services that they offer to promote ethanol in Indiana. And last, Jake will then share station information, including locations, pricing, and fuel blends. And now I'll hand it off to Carrie.
Thanks, Kaylee. Elena, if you're okay with this, I'm gonna hide you for a moment until it's your turn to go. So we'll see you soon. All right. Okay. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. As Kaylee mentioned, we are Greater Indiana Clean Cities. We are a Clean City Coalition focused on advancing communities with education and resources on alternative fuel vehicles and other types of transportation. Our mission is to advance alternative domestic fuel transportation, including energy efficient technologies across all sectors in Indiana. We are a standalone nonprofit 501c3. We work with public and private sector members. And you know what? Kaylee, we need to update our notes because we just celebrated our anniversary. So we were designated 22 years ago as a Clean City Coalition. So yay! So for 22 years, we have been assisting cities, schools, utilities, fueling companies, government agencies, universities, and other nonprofit organizations with their alternative fuel fleet projects. We have around 80 stakeholders, or what we call members, that work with us on collaborative opportunities, whether it is for funding, infrastructure development, fleet deployment, anything else that falls in that realm. Together we host educational and networking events, fostering opportunities for partnership between fleets and industry providers. As you can see, we have several of our champion members listed on this slide today. We also have many leader and advocate stakeholders listed on our website. And, you know, their membership has helped fund our work to deploy alternative fuels and technologies throughout the state. And we are always looking for opportunities to help our members and educate them and advocate for alternative fuels. Last month, you may have seen some of our news, but we were a proud sponsor of the Indy Airstrip attack that Elena will also discuss during her presentation. And that was in Marion, Indiana, and was one of the big sponsors was the Indiana Corn Marketing Council and Unleaded 88. So to give you a little idea of what Clean Cities do, if you don't know already, these 4 areas listed on the slide represent the major areas that we tackle. So local and national partnerships, we help convene key community and business leaders to develop and implement projects, leverage resources, and address local barriers. In addition, national partnerships leverage Clean City resources nationwide to engage with larger fleets and organizations. Under information and education, we help develop data-driven tools to help consumers save money on fuel costs and help fleets understand their options for cost-effective alternatives. Under technical and problem-solving assistance, we help local leaders address permitting and safety issues, technology shortfalls, and other project implementation barriers. And finally, under competitively awarded financial assistance, we use several awards to provide funds that encourage an initial private sector match and long-term investment. This framework is bolstered by local support through designated Clean City coalitions like ours that have their finger on the pulse of the local market conditions and priorities. Local coalitions such as Greater Indiana can tap national resources to provide unbiased information, tools, and experts to address barriers and solve problems. Today's webinar features a presentation given by the Indiana Corn Marketing Council. And the Indiana Corn Marketing Council serves Indiana corn farmers by providing practical and applicable research into on-farm programs, educating consumers and promoting new and expanding markets, including biofuels. Elena Jetty is the Biofuels Director for the Indiana Corn Marketing Council and will now lead the presentation.
Thank you very much, Carrie. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today. We can get to the next slide, Kaylee. Okay, thank you, Carrie, for that introduction again. Just wanted to give a little background what Indiana Corn Marketing Council is. Founded in 2001, we are a statewide organization that serves Indiana corn farmers through various checkoff programs that help create markets and broaden demand, opening up different opportunities here domestically for our corn farmers as well as globally. We focus a lot of our checkoff programs around research, education, information, and promotion for the different checkoff programs from Indiana Corn Marketing Council, programs such as this one here today. Next slide, please. Just a couple things for today. I'm going to go through just what my role is with the checkoff program in the biofuels department. Touch on just some consumption items with fuel and gasoline and where that stood with COVID, and then just finish up with some infrastructure assistant programs that we help offer here in the state. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is one of my favorite go-to slides. If anyone have seen any of my other presentations here around the state, I like to just make sure that folks know that we cannot push, ethanol. We can't move biofuels only by ourselves. So we work with a lot of different collaboration and stakeholders in this space. We start obviously with our corn farmers, then their product goes to the ethanol plant, which ends up at the terminal or rack for fuel retailers to then purchase and have their trucks carried to the fuel retail stations, where then the consumer fills up with obviously their automobile, then ultimately touches on the air quality piece. So various programs that I'm responsible for is the ethanol expansion outreach or infrastructure outreach. And basically that is when we work with different automakers here in the state to work on internal combustion engines, making sure that they're able to continue to take higher blends of ethanol as those come into fruition through various organizations and approvals from EPA and different government structures here in the United States. So in tandem with that, our checkoff programs also help with various markets around Indiana, as well as new markets like California. I will touch on some fuel offerings that we've got available to the consumers today, and that infrastructure expansion piece. Our stakeholder engagement is very important, as you can see, working and collaborating with companies like Casey's and Greater Indiana Clean Cities Coalition is very important to getting different messages across and networking and interacting with different areas of what I mentioned earlier with this, full circle of a supply chain. USDA on the air quality pieces shows that ethanol does reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 39% or more compared to traditional gasoline. And so we're very proud of that with Indiana Corn Marketing Council, that we are assisting with a product that not only helps as a high octane booster for an engine, but is also helping the environment as well. Next slide, please. So consumption is everything. Recently, obviously, with things happening with COVID, a lot of stay-at-home orders, people weren't traveling to work or going to run errands or going to concerts and doing the normal activities and things that they would be doing. So what happened? We'll get to the next slide here and I'll show you. So we had a very drastic drop in gasoline demand, especially April 3rd was the lowest. We hit about 55% year prior gasoline demand decline because of those stay-at-home orders. Now, knowing that was, what this different states and things mandated as far as keeping folks healthy and safe and things they needed to do to kind of stop that spread, it did have an effect on various sectors in the gasoline as well as the ethanol communities. I am happy to say, though, that just some short-term energy outlook forecasts are showing that folks are obviously getting back on the road, going back to work. School started back up for those that are doing in-person school in various events, state by state, of how that goes about with those different openings. And so happy that we are getting back on the road and able to, help with our local economies, especially restaurants and that hospitality sector. Next slide, please. Okay, so infrastructure assistance programs. I'll go ahead and get to the next slide as I talk through this. So Indiana Corn Marketing Council has assisted with various grant funding for over about 80 locations to offer higher blends of ethanol, including E85 flex fuel, which if you're driving a vehicle that has a yellow gas cap when you fill up, your vehicle is able to take that fuel, as well as unleaded 88 E15. I'll talk more on that in just a second. So this graph or map is basically just to give a little call out to the different locations that we've assisted with. And then the goal ultimately is, as companies move into selling these products and seeing that they're really competitive on the market, then they start opening and doing these market development and expansions, infrastructure, programs on their own. And that's one of the nice things for today when we get to Casey's presentation. Right now, Unleaded 88 offers more Unleaded 88 products at over 2,100 locations across 31 different states. And I'll get to the next slide next. Okay, so as I mentioned, we're home to about 325 E85 locations and over 70 unleaded 88 E15 locations. So building and maintaining those relationships with the various fuel retailers is very important to myself and to our organization. We've got opportunities like fleet card offerings. So if you're a fleet company that's looking to, help improve your carbon footprint with different flex fuel or higher ethanol blends, Casey's is one of those companies that offers those. I know our organization partakes in a lot of our fuel retail partners fleet program opportunities where you're doing your part with the air quality portion and you're also saving money at the pump. So what is unleaded 88? Well, it's 15% ethanol with 85% gasoline per gallon. And basically it's burning cleaner. It has a higher octane for your engine, obviously better for the environment I had mentioned, and then also better for your wallet. So far, we've have over 14 billion miles driven on unleaded 88. And if you're looking for a station next to you, you can go to unl88.com or definitely download a free GasBuddy app. And they also have a filter option for that as well. Next slide, please. Just want to make sure that you know, Casey's is one of our great partners, but we do work with quite a few various retailers. We did open up in St. John, one of the first Shell locations, which is Quick Run is the convenience store name in St. John, Indiana. And then we also have good relationships with Family Express up in Northwest Indiana. And so continuing those partnerships as well. Next slide, please. Carrie mentioned at the beginning, we recently did sponsor a Indy Airstrip attack, which is a half-mile high-end exotic car race that runs off of primarily E85 flex fuel, but all those vehicles 2001 or newer also was able to run off of unleaded 88, which is our Engine Smart Earth Kind here logo. We had Greater Indiana participate as one of the sponsors as well for this live broadcast of these cars going half a mile on Marion Municipal Airport track. And it was an all around just fun, fast, safe event to showcase these high-end cars that were just, burning very high octane fuel while just connecting all these pieces with like Casey's and various state associations in the corn world, as well as other corporations that support air quality equipment infrastructure for those retailers that want to blend higher blends of ethanol. And then as well as pushing messages for unleaded 88 in that air quality piece with Greater Indiana. Next slide, please. This is just highlighting just a little more, live piece of that. So we did have the live broadcast. So that top left photo is a car, one of the cars that we had wrapped in unleaded 88. That's Tyler McGinnity with McGinnity Motorworks, and he did place first in his class for running a few different races on a higher blends of ethanol. So we were excited for him and his win. On the right side, we also worked with GasBuddy, who promoted the race on the app, the free app I mentioned. And then we have the banner below. So if folks were looking for a location near them, Casey's was one of the sponsors and one of the closest locations to the race. So it made sense, obviously, that they would pop up on the app. So that's actually a live picture from my phone that I captured to learn more about unleaded 88, go to the race, and then also as well to where to fill up. So I think next slide. Yeah, so that concludes my portion of presentation here. Can see if there's any questions.
That was good. Yeah, I will say I am spoiled now by car races after going to that one. It's probably one of the funnest. For those who didn't get to attend, I highly recommend it because it is far more casual setting, and a lot of times if you are milling around, you get to talk to the drivers of the vehicle and learn more about it. And obviously they're very excited to talk about their vehicle and all the cool stuff it can do. And then the fact that it runs on ethanol is obviously huge for clean cities and for anyone who's trying to promote better air quality. So that was a big, it was a very cool, fun event. So we were happy to be a part of it, and thank you for having us be a part of it. And thank you for your presentation. I'm checking our question box, and it looks like you must have been super awesome because I don't have any questions popping in. So guys, if you have any questions for Elena, go ahead and enter them there. But if you just want to give her a shout out and a kudos, you're welcome to do that too. I think we can all use a few of those in these times. Elena, what was this the unleaded 88 and the Indy Airstrip attack? Was this your second or third year doing that?
Well, actually, for our organization, it was the 5th year. For myself, starting in the role in 2018, it was my 3rd race. I will say that when I came on board this role in 2018, so it was my first Indy Airstrip attack race. It was assessing, obviously, the race, understanding the location, what was, behind this race. And so working with the owners of who puts on the race, a company called Ship Sector based out of California, they started to give me the feedback that, at that point in time, they had about 10% of their drivers running off higher blends of ethanol. And then in year 2 that I was there, I started seeing that going up to about 30-35%. And then in this last one, with everything happening with COVID, obviously no one was going anywhere watching regular sporting events. I mean, we finally are starting to get to watch NBA and the playoffs, going on now, but there's a lot of folks that just were on social media and watching TV and Netflix and everything. So this was an opportunity that the organization and I thought would be good to pick up the live broadcast streaming, and was happy that we brought in over 2 million live viewers for
That's
this
amazing.
program, with over a 6 million reach across the country, which was amazing. So, and then in this third year that I participated in it, we saw that there was about a 65% of the drivers. So this continuation of the drivers. And in the racing world, I'll tell everyone who's on the call, ethanol is not a bad word. It's not scary. They know it's a high octane, you know, keeps your engine cooler, burns cleaner for the air. And so, you know, in the consumer side, then that's where bringing all these different stakeholders together is just a way to say, hey, you know, these guys, yeah, they burn high blends of ethanol to go from 0 to 200 miles per hour in half a mile. We're not doing that every day, right, as a consumer. And so I think having the opportunity to say, hey.
But the point is, if they can do it, my car should be able to do it, because I'm clearly not doing the 0 to 60 and however, you know, in a half mile drag race. So, and I think that's why it's important to show that it is being used by these avid, you know, race car drivers who clearly believe in the great properties of it. And I remember when I first came into Clean Cities, and then you were telling me about the IndyCar race and all the cars using ethanol for that. And I think that gets lost a lot of times in the shuffle, that people don't know that, and more of them should. And we're always talking about, especially my organization, that like you're fueling the Indiana economy here. Like you need to go out and support your neighbor's job. And so I think, you know, the more we can make it fun and keep reaching various audiences, the better. The better for everyone, really. It's the economy and it's the air. So yeah, that's fantastic. Looks like you did get a shout out. Great job, Elena. That was the comment. So
oh, thank you very much.
Thanks, Kimberly.
Appreciate that.
And well, it looks like we have. Go ahead.
Did Jake jump on?
No. So I don't know if you want to go ahead and take it from here and share.
Yeah. So for those attending and those listening in the future, Jake at Casey's, a good friend over there, has been messaging me that he's going to try to jump on here. I'm going to start his presentation, but they unfortunately had a few folks test positive for COVID, unfortunately, and just due to their safety protocols, they're going to have some folks leave the building, which Jake's in charge of the fuel pricing department at Casey's and in Ankeny, Iowa. So I'm going to let him do his leadership role in getting his team safe. And if he's able to jump on here, that will be great. I'll keep you posted. Fortunately, my prior life used to be running a lot of convenience stores. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with Jake's presentation. So we'll go ahead and get to the slide after this, and I'll go ahead and give a little background about Casey's here. So I am happy. Okay, Casey's has come leaps and bounds when it comes to supporting biofuels, not only in Indiana, but across the country. They are the 4th largest convenience store in North America. They are now over a 16, state footprint with over 20. Well, that says 2,100 locations. I know that they'd acquired a little bit more than that. So, but 2,100 locations over 16 states. And, they have really been committed to putting, whether it be unleaded 88, E15, remember those are the same products, or E85 at their location. And everything comes down to that equipment and infrastructure. So there's low-hanging fruit. There's very old stores that have to do complete remodels. And so as they're navigating through these times and making good business decisions on where to put their biofuels locations, definitely been a great partner to be working with here in Indiana. So we'll go ahead and get to the next slide here. So their company, 1959, was founded 2017 for stores that offered E15 and E85. I will say, as I came into this role in 2018, we assisted with funding 4 of the very first Casey locations in Indiana, and proud to say that since 2018, we're now over 32 locations offering these E15, E85 products. And then we've got biodiesel, which I know this is geared more towards ethanol. I did do a fleet how to transition your fleet to biodiesel with Greater Indiana not too long ago. And so they're actually huge supporters of biodiesel, and we're looking to explore those options in Indiana as well. So we'll go ahead and get to the next slide. I know Jake, we wanted to keep this in here just to show that, there's renewable fuels has been on the rise and usage. And just as a fun fact, for Indiana, we're, about half our corn crop goes to ethanol, and we're home to about 14 ethanol plants, and we produce over 1.2 billion gallons annually. And just to give you a landscape of the United States is about 16 billion gallon market. So Indiana is representing about 7% of that US ethanol production. And so that's very helpful for companies like Casey's, who can source from, places all over our state in Indiana, similar to other states in different parts of the country that also have access to these E85 and unleaded 88 E15 options. So go to the next slide, please. So on this piece, out of the various different energy consumptions, we want to make sure that we highlighted that 29% is in transportation. And just to give an idea, for right now with the US transportation energy sources data, we've got gasoline that's 55% of this pie, biofuels coming in at 5%. But as I've been mentioning in my presentation and continue will in this, we're definitely seeing that grow. Over a year and a half ago, when I start talking about unleaded 88 E15, is because the administration right now approved for an extra 5% of ethanol could be added into every gallon of fuel. And many folks don't know, and every day I have this conversation, that right now in almost every gas station, there's 10% ethanol blended into every gallon of fuel today. And so, when I try to give around peace of mind for your engine, your engine can take it, it's fine. 2001 or newer, that extra 5% is so substantially similar to the regular 87 button that you push. If that's the fuel you pick, pushing to 88 is going to be most likely cheaper at the pump, up to about 10%, better for your engine, of course, and the environment. So we'll go to the next slide here, keep moving along. So we've got a lot of things happening here with ethanol. Well, first, ethanol is a very efficient or cost-effective source of octane, and a lot of pieces around here in the world are starting to realize that. Even though in the U.S. is obviously leaps and bounds ahead, and then in many countries right now offering 10% blend per gallon and getting to 15 is a huge win for the country and our agriculture and corn farmer community. But we also work with international, companies as well. And we're looking to also get their blends up to a 10% minimum, and then hopefully higher as well. So just showing that this is definitely on the rise since, early 2000s to now, and hoping to keep that transition going forward positive. So we'll go ahead and go to the next slide, please. This is one of my favorite graphs, and I feel like other corn states would love to see this too, but it really just sort of keeps things simple as far as just, where different pieces fit in. And this goes back to that piece where we all are working together with, our renewable industry, with the corn and soybean farmers, doing the fuel transports to the various terminals that got to then supply it to the retail fuel stations or gas stations, to then ultimately end up at the pump to fuel the consumers every day going to and from work or travel or whatever their destination may be. So I really like this slide. It keeps it simple if you're really a visual person. Next slide, please. All right, just a couple slides to go for those that are kind of checking times if you got other meetings to run to. So this is we've come through some hurdles and barriers, and by no means are we at the end of any of those hurdles and barriers, but this is what right now as an example of what, if you were in Indiana, what a fuel setup would look like. And we've just got the E85 all the way to the left, and then unleaded 88. And so just showing the price from left to right as the most cost effective to the most expensive. I find that, consumers like have it, you know. And if you're like me, you grew up with grabbing the handle, pushing that far left button, because we grew up with regular gas or unleaded gasoline. And so now, you know, it's a little bit of an adjustment. A lot of times we know it's just these different pumps and colors can get a little confusing. But really, you know, it's based off of different state regulations on how they have to be labeled and branded. And so I'm trying to make sure you have peace of mind around, if you are definitely in Indiana and you're looking and you're driving this unleaded 88, this is a way that we're trying to keep it branded consistently, so that way the consumer can recognize that, see webinars like this, see NT Airstrip attack races online or that live broadcast, and start getting familiar with the product. So that way it just turns into just regular unleaded gasoline that you've been filling up just like you have been ever since you've been driving. So this is what that looks like. It may look a little different if you're from out of state, but if you have any questions on that, I definitely recommend you to contact myself or Carrie, and we can see what your state looks like as well. So I'll go to the next slide. Okay, so this is obviously where Greater Indiana is a big partner with different fleets around Indiana and various municipalities. So Jake wanted to make sure that we did have this up here just as if you are interested, and if you are a fleet manager or here in Indiana looking to see how you can get some savings at the pump, maybe some loyalty points so you can get your favorite food and beverage. And then also just, you know, reducing your carbon footprint here and in a time where sustainability and environmentally friendly pieces are so much at the forefront of everything that we're doing. So let me know if you have any questions on Casey's Visa Platinum card. That's the sales thing for today only. Please let me know. And I'm sure that they'll be able to assist you in getting that set up. To the next slide, please. Okay, so here is I know it's a lot going on there on the map, but it's very nice to see that, yeah, similar to the little dots that I have. I like his map better because obviously it's focused on all the Casey's locations here. And so these are all the different, you know, spots that we've got for Casey's, and then we're looking to include E15, unleaded 88, and E85 at these locations. And then also I mentioned expanding biodiesel B20 here in Indiana as well, which is a 20% biodiesel blend and an 80% diesel blend. So happy to see this and happy to work together with Casey's. I wish Jake could have been here for you all. It's not going to be the last time that I'm sure he'll participate with Greater Indiana. I guess we'll go to the next slide to make sure I'm not missing anything else on his presentation. Oh, there we go. So we've got even a wonderful screenshot here of all the different locations. But again, if you're looking to find a location near you, I encourage the GasBuddy app to download, as well as go to unl88.com to find the different locations here. And then you can also, if you're out of state, you can also find those in your states as well. And we'll go to the next slide. Okay, well, I guess that wraps up for Jake's. Hopefully no one's disappointed in my role for fuel pricing manager.
I don't think anyone's disappointed, Alana. You really knocked that out of the park. So thank you for pitching in. And I mean, talk about, we all know where it's a crazy time. So this just really hit us just out of the blue today. So thank you for covering Jake's presentation. We did get a question in here. I'm just trying to see who this came from. I guess it doesn't really matter. Great presentation. Elena mentioned biodiesel briefly. Is any renewable diesel being offered in Indiana? If so, by who? And it's a little off. It's off the ethanol topic, yeah, but it's biofuels. And
no, that's okay. I mean, with we're a member of a group called National Biodiesel Board, and from Indiana Soybean Alliance side, and they are embracing the biodiesel and renewable diesel market. With the gasoline demand that had declined, there are some refineries that have made the switch over to renewable diesel. This was, to my knowledge, I know we've got one in Nebraska that switched to renewable diesel. And so the win for Indiana, and this would be on the soybean farmer side, is that soy oil that's great. That's an outlet for one of our other products that we have here in Indiana, just like corn oil is used on so many different products as well. And so in Indiana, no, not yet for renewable diesel. We've got a biodiesel plant up in Claypool, Indiana. Louis Dreyfus does about 100 million gallons annually. But this is just showing that just like so many things with COVID happening, people are diversifying their portfolio and offering different products. Is what's looking to be new. And so, you know, with renewable diesel and that including the soy oil side of things, I would say Indiana would be very open to, you know, pushing biodiesel and renewable diesel forward, because that would in turn definitely be supporting our agricultural community.
Great. I'm gonna see if there's any more that popped in here. All right.
It would be remiss.
Another question.
Carrie, can you hear me? I said I would be remiss to say if I didn't mention that along with Casey's now being such a, you know, big with fuels and biofuels, they are one of the top 5 pizza chains in the nation. So if you haven't tried a slice, they do have an excellent pizza serving inside. So there's got a fleet card, pizza, and fuel.
That's awesome. Okay. All right, I'm going to read this verbatim just because I love the way it's worded. It says, if memory serves me right, Indiana doesn't allow for E10 and E15 out of the same hose. Do you expect that to change?
I hope so. I mean, here's the thing. So when I was talking about how the consumers shop on habit and just that, you know, memory muscle when you grab the hose, that, you know, for right now, you know, we're working with the controllables. So we've got E15 approved, unleaded 88 to be used in Indiana. That's correct for right now, where we do have to have a dedicated E10, or what you see now as the 87 button. That's the regular 87. And then we have the E15 unleaded 88. And then we've got your other fuel offerings, premium, mid-grade, or regular, depending on how many offerings that store has. I would be very happy to see if, and the timing is just, I don't know what that timing looks like in the next 5 years or what that looks like, but there are states that do have different state regulations that allow what we call a shared hose to be used, and then you just pick up the hose, you can push a button, and that's what you're going to get. So I would say that, yeah, for me personally, I'm in discussions on that very topic currently, and more aggressively here in the near future. So I think that it would keep it simple for the consumer. And so, but with not having that be available right now in Indiana, with that, we've got to work within our means. And so, you know, promoting this fuel and hoping folks will push for unleaded 88 right now for that button is helping right now Indiana corn farmers and the agricultural side of things. So there's a lot more complexity to that, and happy to talk to whomever asked that question offline, but I don't want to confuse everyone else on those rules and regulations with weights and measures. So that's a whole other topic.
Sure. Yeah, we could do a whole other session or webinar for that for sure. All right, so I'm not seeing any other questions pop in here. So thank you to those who submitted, and thank you to those who joined us. That's my cue. Thanks, Kaylee. I'm getting there.
Thank you.
I want to thank everyone again for joining us today to learn more about ethanol fueling stations, pricing, benefits, programs, and services available for those who want to switch to the alternative fuel. Special thank you to our speakers, Elena and Elena. Thank you for giving us an overview of your programs, and then obviously running through the Casey's information. Should anyone have any follow-ups or questions, I know Elena put her information on the slide. You can also feel free to reach out to me at Greater Indiana Clean Cities on the contact information listed on this slide. Our website also has more information and resources, including signing up for our newsletter and a listing of upcoming events. Obviously, right now, our in-person events are very, very, very limited. But anything that is coming up, you can find it on our website. And please remember to take our quick 2-minute survey that gets sent out. We use this to gauge future webinar planning to make sure the webinars we provide are of value to our stakeholders. So take those 2 minutes to do that, and have a great day, everyone, and stay safe.
Thank you.
Yeah.